You guys, I'm totally mentally preparing myself for all the negative comments slash hate that I'm gonna get in this video, because just like myself, I know a lot of you guys are huge fans of the Anastasia Beverly Hills brand, and like I said, I'm a huge fan as well. But today I'm gonna be doing my honest review and give you guys like my thoughts on the brand new Anastasia Subculture palette. And I'm just gonna say now, this palette was a huge letdown and a huge disappointment. It's not all terrible, but overall, this palette was just extremely hard to work with, extremely frustrating to use, and just a huge disappointment altogether. So let's just jump right into the review, and then I'll go into detail about why I feel the way I feel about the new Subculture palette. I have so much to say that I honestly don't even know how to like gather my thoughts. So I guess I can just talk to you about what I initially had planned to do, and that was a first impressions, because I received this and I literally could not wait to use it. And I think what I'm gonna do is, right now, I'm gonna insert my initial reaction of opening this palette, and then I'll come back to talk to you guys about what I actually think about the palette. You guys know I usually don't film at night, which is why the studio or the lighting looks a little bit different. But I just could not contain my excitement because I just got the Anastasia Subculture palette, and it's still in like the, what are these called? Like the bubble wrap? Yeah, it's still in the bubble wrap. This is what the outer box looks like. It's in this beautiful like teal color, which I know is like the theme of this palette. And when you turn it around, this is what the back looks like. This is what the beautiful palette looks like, and it has that same like velvety felt material as the Modern Renaissance, and I'm actually so happy that it's in this beautiful teal shade, because as you guys can see, my Modern Renaissance has been through hell and back. And now I'm gonna go ahead and just open up the palette with you guys, and there's a plastic which just went flying, and ooh, this is what the palette looks like. What is that? Oh, it just looks like one of the eyeshadows just kind of like rubbed off. Where is it? Right over here. It looks like electric eyeshadow just like rubbed off over here. It didn't break or anything, but oh, the palette is just so pretty. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you guys saw for yourself that I was so beyond excited to use this palette, because as a lot of you who have been following me for a long time know that the Modern Renaissance from Anastasia is my most used palette. Literally, look at this thing. It has been through like war and back, because I use this on a daily basis. I haven't been using it that much recently because I've been using the Naked Heat, but you guys know that this is like one of my most used palettes. And you can even see I've hit pan on one of the eyeshadows. This one right here, Real Girl, which is one of my favorites. I actually broke that and put that back together. You can tell I've used almost all the colors a ton in this palette, because these eyeshadows, from my experience, are some of the best eyeshadows I've ever used. They are so buttery and almost like creamy and blend into each other so nicely and really complement each other. Basically, in short, I freaking love this palette, and that is why when Anastasia announced that they were now coming out with Subculture, which is a sister palette of the Modern Renaissance, I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I saw the colors, and they are just like nothing I've ever seen in a palette put together. You have such a beautiful mix of warm tones, like the colors over here, and then you do have like pops of cool tones. Then you have this really cool, like, I don't even know the texture of the eyeshadow. It's like a metallic-y finish eyeshadow. And then you also have some duochromes here, which are amazing. These two eyeshadows are beautiful. But when you actually go to use this palette, you guys, it was just so frustrating to use this palette. So right now, I'm gonna actually insert me trying to use this palette for the very first time, and I honest to God thought that something was wrong with me. But I think I'm gonna start off by using the shade Dawn, and ooh, in just initial thoughts, there seems to be a lot of kickback from the, do you guys see that? Do you see how like almost powdery this eyeshadow is? And it's not because it's powdery. Oh my gosh, by the way, this is like totally not a transition shade for me. It's not because it's a powdery eyeshadow, it's just because these eyeshadows are that pigmented. that you get a good amount of kickback. And you guys can probably see like the eyeshadows like flying everywhere, but that is definitely not a transition shade for my skin tone. Maybe it'll work for you if you're a lot lighter than me, but for me, that is definitely not going to work as a transition shade. But I'm just going to apply this all over my lid anyway. I guess I can use this to just set my eyeshadow primer. And I also just want to show you guys, like, do you see, where is it? Like right over here. Do you see how messy it just got? Just want to point that out. So I think instead of Dawn, I'm going to take the shade New Wave, which is like a really beautiful orangey, like a light orangey shade. And I'm gonna use that in my crease instead. Normally, I wouldn't really use a color like this in my crease. I prefer like a really nice, like medium matte brown. I do feel that this palette is lacking that perfect transition shade. I have to say that so far, because I don't really see any other colors that I can use in my crease. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and take the shade All Star, which is a beautiful like maroon shade. And this is like, I know this is going to be a beautiful shade. And oh my God, look at that. Just like a little bit is just so pigmented. These eyeshadows, I have to say so far, are super, super pigmented. But I didn't really expect anything less from Anastasia because all of her eyeshadows are always so pigmented. Anyway, I'm putting that shade in my crease and just swiping my brush back and forth to blend all of that color there. I don't know why it's not blending the way I want it to. But I guess my initial thoughts was like, wow, there's a lot of kickback. And what I mean by kickback is this. So if I just take this blending brush, which comes in the set, and I go in Roxy, do you guys see how much fallout there is on the actual palette? It's insane, the amount of kickback. I've actually never experienced that with any other eyeshadow in my collection, and definitely not from Anastasia Cosmetics. These eyeshadows are so insanely pigmented that you get so much kickback and so much fallout, which I'm okay with the fallout. Like I said, I can always do my eyes first, then the rest of my makeup. What I'm not okay with is the fact that when you apply this eyeshadow in one place, they just get stuck in that specific area. I don't know if I'm making sense to anyone. I think this is a palette you really have to like try for yourself to know what I'm talking about. But blending these eyeshadows is so much work. Now, I used this palette again today, right before creating this look, and I think I used a combination of Edge and Untamed. I'm pretty sure those are the colors I used. And Edge for me blended out really, really nicely. It was very easy to blend. It really reminded me a lot of the Modern Renaissance eyeshadows. But then whenever you just put on a darker shade on top, they just kind of like blend into one another in a really like non-flattering way. They just end up looking very like muddy and not, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm just gonna insert the clip, and it just, like the original color almost gets lost, and then the two colors just create a brand new color that you didn't even want to create. I don't even know if I'm making any sense, but if you guys like see the examples I'm talking about, then you'll know what I'm saying. I also want to mention, and I don't know if I mentioned this already, but there is no transition shade or highlight shade for my skin tone. Actually, there's no highlight shade for any skin tone in here. Now, I do want to say that you definitely can create a beautiful, beautiful look using the Subculture palette. I actually really love how this look turned out today. I used a combination of Cube, which is this beautiful duochrome. That is one of my favorite colors from the palette. So I put that all over my lid. I started off with Roxy in my crease, which is what I use as my transition shade. It is just a little bit too like orangey as a transition shade, but I guess I can make it work. And then I went in and deepened it up with All Star and Rowdy. And again, when I was blending it out, the same thing happened where it just gets like stuck in one place and then just really, really hard to blend. Again, it is definitely not impossible to create an absolutely beautiful look using this palette, but in my opinion and experience, it is a lot of work. The eyeshadows overall are just really, really hard to blend, especially the darker matte shades. So I guess my overall thoughts, you guys, please don't hate me because I really was so excited about this palette. If you guys are true longtime followers of mine, you guys know that I love Anastasia. I love Claudia, who goes by Norvina. She is a genius and so smart and she has such a good eye, and I really wanted to love this palette because I love the brand. But I think this is a huge disappointment. Even though there are some colors that are very pretty, color selection is just beautiful, the quality just falls extremely short. I mean, I guess you can try it out for yourself and make up your own mind, but in my opinion, for me, this is a total pass. I actually want to send this back because I'm just like that annoyed with it because I really wanted to love it, and I thought this would be like my go-to fall palette. Unfortunately, it is not. Alright, so that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support. If you guys can please take just a quick moment and subscribe to my channel by clicking the little red button on this side, and also follow me on all my social media. Everything will be linked in the description box below, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!